Hi, everyone. I'm Sue,
And I'm Katie, and we're a mother daughter duo.
here to dismantle the status quo of generational lies. And we're here with Noelle and her husband, EJ, and we're going to be talking about the fear of failure. So, if you could tell us a little bit about yourselves.
I'm Noelle. I'm a senior human resources director for a nonprofit, and I have a tremendous fear of failure. And I brought my husband in to say how it impacts our family.
And I'm EJ. I am Noelle's husband. And
He's a survivor of my fear of failure.
and I've served various careers across from high school teacher through FBI agent to business owner. So I see the impacts of failure not only in a corporate section but in a family section as well. So
Perfect.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
of
Yes.
course.
Excited to be here.
Noelle, tell us a little bit about where you think fear of failure came for you and how it in the last 6 years or so has really reared its ugly head for you.
I think for me, my fear of failure started probably in my family dynamic. I have an older brother who I grew up in a family where the old traditions were true, that the men were typical, men always were the breadwinners, women were supposed to be in the home, but it was always shifting in the sense that my mom ended up trying to go back into the workplace. And so there was always that struggle of, women were always supposed to be home, and she kind of was always fighting that fight within herself. And so when she projected that onto me of, I want you to be home, but you're also going to have to make a living. And so it was always, but don't ever overshadow your husband. And so when I went into the workforce, I always was very much struggling with that idea. And then when I started in my last job, I worked in a construction industry, which is very male dominated. And then I would always be questioned on everything. And I was very hesitant to be in a room because if I became more intelligent than the men, where would I stand? And it was always, I'm supposed to be wearing sensible shoes and wearing an apron and being at home. And so therefore, if I became smarter, I would be kicked out. And that was a huge struggle within me. And it was hard and so therefore that's where I just had that inner turmoil always of being the smartest person in the room. And if I did come up smarter, then my boss would kick me out.
Yeah.
Or he'd demote me. I mean, every time I got in there and I got smarter and I got better and I made him actually have to question, like if I presented a law or something that he would, in HR, I would say, hey, look, if we're going to do this, then we need to be aware of these risks. He would exit me from the room and take away my salary.
But I would say that part of that is because he believed in the old style. He believed that that's the basis. And if we won't go into his family life, but there's a large percentage of males who still believe in that old style. I mean, I grew up in a similar family. Dad's job was to go out and win the money, bring home the bacon, whatever, and mom's job was to be home with the children and so on. But then my mom worked, and because dad was military, so we didn't have money. We didn't have a lot of stuff, and if we wanted it, we had two people working. And the problem is that, I mean, the people that Noelle was working with, you're in a male-dominated society who actually believes this. And unfortunately, that's not unfortunately, that's just not the case. There's nothing that a woman can't do that a man can do, or vice versa. Yeah, there are physicalities. Don't get me wrong with regards to that. But mentally, come on. And that's just the stupid.
And it sounds like, too, just from hearing you talk about him, like it from him, on top of that, there's like a level of insecurity. So if here's this woman who knows more than I do, I need to exit her from the room so I don't look like I don't know what I'm talking about.
Exit
And
me from
I
the room
look inferior.
exactly, Katie, and then exit me and then punish me.
Mm-hmm.
So that it was just kind of so therefore So then I got imposter syndrome. Like, or if I spoke up, it was kind of like, if I do this, I was always walking a tightrope.
Mhm.
And then at the same time, and then when I would go outside of my workplace, I would sit at it. It was very, by the way, just my mom made more money than my dad. So as she was preaching to me about how I'm supposed to be less successful and I was always supposed to be supporting my husband, she was not even doing, she far exceeded my father. So it was kind of like, wait, what are you,
Well,
you're not even preaching what you're not even walking the walk that you're saying and stuff. So it was kind of that whole, and then she revered my brother, and I was supposed to go to law school. I ended up pivoting and not, because I realized I didn't want to argue in a courtroom. I am not a good, actually, this is very uncomfortable. I'm not good in front of cameras or on microphones. I'm always better in the shadows and
well,
doing.
you're doing great.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. I'm trying that in 2026. But the other thing is that with that being said, all of those imposter syndrome things kept coming up, and I'm like, someone's going to figure out that, one, I didn't graduate with a degree in human resources, and they're going to say, oh, you're a liar, and you don't know what you're talking about, and actually your boss is right, you don't know what you're doing, you should be penalized, you're directing the company wrong, and look at all the mistakes you've made along the way. Those are all going to come up, because as you grow up, I think I always held myself to the ability that, like, I was never allowed to be making mistakes, because that would risk the company. In human resources, everyone always says, oh, if you make that mistake, look at the consequences. You've cost, if you screw up a termination, that could come back and bite the company. If you tell them wrong on a hiring, that could come back and bite the company. So if I was always told that, if, a lawyer is always on my back, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always walking two things. And then he would, on top of that, like, my boss would be like, I'm calling the lawyer, you don't know what you're saying. And then the lawyer would be like, oh no, she's saying what she's saying. So he'd be like, okay, well, that's 10,000 I'm taking off of you. And then my husband, who was like, what the hell did you just do? Or heck did you just do? We just lost money.
You can swear. You're fine.
So let me say something she did say, and I think it extends two things. They're important. When she was sent out of the room, and it wasn't just this most recent boss, it's been the boss before that. When we first got married, she had a phenomenal boss that she worked with, that she loved when she was with Hertz. But the statement that he would punish her is less of the truth, of more of a put her in her place.
Yeah.
And if you recognize that that's what it was, now it is a punishment, don't get me wrong, but the idea was that he punished. But when you think you're being punished, then you don't want to do it again, and you think that you're not allowed to be there, when in fact she could have been. It's their mistake for not putting her there. The second thing I want to say is the best decision she ever made, in my opinion, was to not go to law school. She went to law school. She did what she did because family pressure. This is what you're supposed to do, blah, 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 blah. And then she decided she didn't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't do it.
Yeah, but then I got X'd out of the room at the family.
It doesn't matter. You made a decision that was against everything else that you had been told all the way through. So, and you followed
your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, actually, one of the things that's known about me is that if I don't want to do something and I'm being pressured by my family to do it, by not my husband, but my other, like my parents and stuff like that, I'll do just enough to fail it. Like, so at one point they wanted me to be a teacher. So I went and took the California teaching emergency credentialing exam. I failed it by 1 point. Like, that was my way of saying, I don't want to do this. Like, I could have passed it, but I missed it by 1 point. And then when I went to law school, I got on probation, like immediately took the classes and went on academic probation. I could have applied myself a little bit longer, but my dad called me out on it. And he goes, you don't want to do this. Like, that if you applied just a little bit more, you could have made it. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And so, and he then called me the next day and said, hey, by the way, there's a job fair, get there. And that's how I ended up getting in my new career.
Yeah. So
here's how smart you have to be to fail a test by 1 point.
Well, here's a funny point, and this is why I get so frustrated with Noelle's fear of failure, or thinking she's inadequate, or imposter syndrome, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, is that when she makes a decision, that's what's going to happen. If she tells me, hey, we need new couches, I'm just looking. I promise I'm just looking. We will have new couches in the house within like 3 weeks. All right. We need a different car. I'm just looking. We're not buying anything yet. I promise we're not buying anything yet.
I'm just researching.
All right. I think I need to get a master's in HR. I'm just going to look at it. I'm not going to really do anything with it. And guess what? We're starting a master's in HR.
Hey, we finished it.
And you finished it. But so that's what's really to our original point of this fear of failure is it's not really a fear of failure. It's, in my opinion, you've got to make the commitment and recognize what's going to happen to it and just plow through. Sorry, go ahead.
What makes you stay in that, we'll call it abusive, because that's what we've been calling it, abusive relationship. So I know I was in one of those, and Katie worked for the same company for a while, as the VP of HR. And I know that for me, though, my fear was that I was a single mom. I wouldn't be able to support my children. I had to put up with that crap every day and go in and do whatever they wanted. What makes you stay in that abusive type relationship? And it sounds like it was more than 6 years now.
The reason I stayed at the last one was because of the freedoms that I was awarded. I had the unlimited ability. As much as I was getting punished, I wasn't being watched. I was getting pulled up at the right times. Right.
That's not it.
He said no.
No, he thinks it's different. But my rationale was I could leave at any moment. Like I could escape out. No one was watching. I mean, I was being watched by the people who relied on me, but they trusted me enough to know that I was working. So if I needed to get somewhere for one of my kids, jump on a plane, go to one of my daughter's in Pennsylvania, I could get to her and go see her, whatever she needed. Like recently she called me very upset. I turned to my bosses and said, I need to go. They let me go. And it was just that type of thing. Or my current work, as you're in that 90-day period, I can't do anything. I am staple gunned to that office and that type of thing. So I was able for the 6 years that my kids were in high school to attend every single lacrosse game, every single baseball game, travel for their competitive sports. I actually hired my children into the company, which probably wasn't the best because it was an abusive relationship. But at the same time, I was able to manipulate the company for better good beyond myself. And I think that's why a lot of people outside of just a work environment stay in toxic relationships, because they're afraid of getting out because of something else. On top of that, I was terrified of, what if I wasn't good enough for another company? Like, what if what he's saying is right, and I go to the next company and he's right. Maybe I don't deserve to be in these rooms. And so therefore I need to be here so that I can prove myself or something like that. If I can prove it here, I can prove it anywhere. Or maybe I'm not as good, and therefore I might as well just take my hits and stay with what I've got. And I don't know. I always felt like I was walking off a cliff, and I was scared to look at the cliff and look down. And so therefore I stayed, because it's safer to know on the ground that I was on. And that's why, even though it was making me miserable.
EJ.
I shook my head.
No.
No, at the end, she
I
pointed it
can
out.
shake my head too. So you go ahead.
But the beginning explanation is a justification.
Yep.
I've dealt with abuse victims a lot in my careers and so on. And everybody starts with a justification. This is what I get out of it for being in there. The reason, in my opinion, that Noelle stayed is what she said at the end, is this fear of, can I do it differently? And I'm going to take it away from Noelle, and I'll put it in something differently. When I left the FBI, leave out what I did, I started getting calls from a whole bunch of other FBI agents asking, hey, can you help me get another job? Right? And I'm like, yeah, what do you want to do? And these are people that will run in, kick in doors, shoot people, they're 100% risk averse when it comes to their real life. All right. They don't want to take that opportunity and figure out, can I do this? All right. So that is a real reason that people stay. Can I get it? Can I make it on my own? Can I do it a different way? Do I have the support? Do I have the group? Do I have the strength? The other side of it is that Noelle was always raised, or at least it comes across that way. One is loyalty, and two, you keep working harder and harder and harder and harder and harder and harder, and eventually they'll recognize your worth. And yeah, that works in a lot in areas where you're going to have a level of respect that's equal, where they're actually recognizing the value of an individual. But when you realize from the beginning that your value is never going to be seen, other than to benefit me, to make me look better, as soon as you step over that, which you already said, you get kicked out of the room.
Yeah.
So sorry. Go ahead, Sue.
No, you're good. No, that was perfect.
Ourselves.
Yeah.
And once you're good. I mean, you bet.
I think like kind of what you were saying, EJ, like about her loyalty, like when I think about things, what you were saying about what your mom would tell you and then how she was making more money than your dad, like it sounds like your mom had her own insecurities and her own beliefs about the fact that she was making more money than your dad. And she was putting those beliefs on you to try to make herself feel better. Like if I help my daughter do this, then what I'm doing that I don't feel good about is okay and better.
Absolutely. No, there's no question. She was definitely projecting. And I look back now, it took me a long time. I mean, I'm older, much older now, and I look back and say, yeah, she really did. She projected the lifestyle that she wanted on me. She from ever. I mean, she sent me to college and she wanted me to get my MRS. She didn't, it wasn't about me getting a BA. It wasn't about any of that.
Oh my God. First, I had to I'm like, MRS, what is that? And then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, Mrs. Got
Getting
it.
married.
She wanted to get married. She wanted me to do all those things.
Yes.
And even when she, like, it was interesting, like when I was getting married to EJ and stuff like that, like, it was very clear. She had very clear parameters that we sat down and went through about how I was to support him. My job was always to be flexible, and that she took, like, when I first got engaged, I had a complete panic attack. I mean, I remember EJ going, "Oh my gosh, is she really going to stick with this engagement?" And she immediately scooped me away and took me on a trip and said, we sat down, which her big thing. My mother loves cruises. So she took me on a cruise and she said, "Here's the thing you need to know. Here's what you need to know about marriage. Here's how it's going to work." And basically walked me through the fact that, one, I needed to marry EJ, and two, that the FBI was a steady career, and that and how it was going to be that we would be level, and that he would be a good provider. And basically, and again, everything that she wanted in a career, in a marriage for herself, it was what I was going to get. So she was laying out my entire life for me. By the way, EJ pivoted and she freaked out, but
well, we landed on her feet and there's a reason for it.
Yeah. But I mean, we had a discussion, like my brother ended up pivoting in his life. And there was a time where I got so angry in my family. I said, "Why can't I get recognition?" And she said, "You broke every rule that we set and you became successful. I can't relate to how you did this. And your brother followed every rule and didn't. And I can't, and I still have to support him more."
Her brother's successful. That's not the issue, but it's a whole different storyline. We didn't follow the script. That's simple.
That's more fun.
But if you have that standard approach to the world and you think that this is the only way it's going to work, and my mother-in-law, that was her family too. I mean, that's how she was raised. Dad raised the money, mom was there, and we're only now getting into an environment, meaning our children, where a woman can be the primary breadwinner for the family. And it's okay for the man to take the back seat, if you will, for lack of a better word, or equal. And that's that. But our generation, those of us that are anywhere between 40 and 60 or older, that's still not accepted. I mean, I always remember the phrasing in that, if you find a strong woman, like the Hillary Clintons of the world, or the
Michelle Obama.
the Michelle Obamas,
Mhm.
or even the Condoleezza Rices and so on. When she enters the room, she's either, a lot of men see them as an individual that you're going to try to woo and show off to, or she's a bitch because she's too strong to
Yep.
deal with it.
Mhm.
And the simple fact is that's not it.
Mm.
There's a skill set, there's a knowledge base, there's something that exists there that we as guys do not have.
Mhm.
And until guys start recognizing it, that's where we're at.
Mhm.
But she has a loyalty that, though I could have it, I would never understand.
I
All
get
right.
it.
She has a knowledge set and an empathy that you just don't get. All right, guys. And
Mhm.
which is why, to our original point, is her fear of failure is so frustrating to other individuals, because you sit and see the high levels, what she's doing, and maybe it's because then you're saying, should I be like that guy, or should I be like this person? And the answer is no, you don't want to be like that person. That's why I want you like that.
Well, it's
Mhm.
interesting though, because like what we find is that like it, and I see it I have to stop it because I see it going into my daughter. Like right now, she's struggling in her college because of the fact, Katie, Sue told me about how you went to college and you picked it out, and it was this small school and it had
Yep.
the stops. And then you're like, so my daughter's struggling with that. She's picked a small school. She thought she had it down, and she's like, I remember her going back to school, and she's like, it wasn't supposed to be like this. It was supposed to be this perfect setting. And we said, no, you can always pivot. Like you can look at it. But recently she plays lacrosse, and
Mm.
when she came home, she was struggling because she's always felt that she was supposed to be loyal to her coach. And
Mm.
recently her coach showed her some true colors. And I called her up and said, hey, stop, because you were given a gift. What your coach
Mhm.
just did gave you a gift, because now you're struggling between liking the team and liking your coach. And you don't have to be loyal to your coach. Your coach gave you your true colors. You now can pivot and be part of the team, and you can be against your coach, if you will. It's okay.
Mhm.
You don't have to keep that loyalty. And she's struggling with that, and she's struggling with the decision, even if she's going to stay at the school
Yeah.
and everything like that. But it was like this eye-opening experience for her to say, I go, don't, and we always say, for lack, don't be a Dan, don't follow me, don't be loyal to the Dans of the world,
Mhm.
because there's no need. Your coach she sold you a bag of goods. Dan sold me a bag of goods. The Dans, because there were two of them at the company, sold me the bag of goods. And now they're not that type of thing. So those type of things, that's her fear of failure on that. Like if I
Yeah.
don't perform to that coach, I don't perform to that boss, that I will have let someone down, or I've let my parents down, or I've let the contract down, or those type of things. So now I'm watching it transgress into her, and we've pulled her back and said, it's okay. You can pivot. You can get out. You're not a failure. And everybody's road is different. And
Mhm.
and so I watched that start happening I've had these conversations. I've had a lot of conversations with her on the way, because she's asked that question, like, why, and she's incredibly competitive, and she's like, why can't I have that good college experience that other people? And I've also said, like, I think that right now, like, I also am guilty of it, like looking at the life Instagram life is a
Mhm.
moment, right? It's not real.
Yep. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I
Well,
used
and
to
it's
scroll
the
Instagram all the time, and like I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't get to people like me don't get to live this life. Like, why would someone like me get to live this life?
You totally deserve that life though.
yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, no, and I
Uh,
live that life now, but it's like but it but I get what you're saying. Like you scroll through and you're why like
but,
why do
but
they get this?
yeah, right. And I say, like, I want that life, but I also, but then I'm like, but do I? Because I missed the 25
Mhm.
minutes beforehand where they were like doing all the prep in the mirrors and stuff. Like,
Exactly.
I don't want to have to, like, personally, I want to, some of those people on Instagram who've got like the mom talks or whatever, where they have to be constantly on the
Mhm.
camera. I don't want that side of me shown and everything. Like, I don't want to live in a Pilates class and everything. I want to be able to have my bad hair days and all that. And I don't want them to be shown on television and everything. And so like, so I've said to, like, as much as I think the Instagram life sometimes look great, and I was joking with some of my girlfriends the other day, like maybe we should become the influencers, because they were complaining about how much college tuition looks like. And I said, because again, 2026 for me was the year of living outside my comfort zone. And I've gotten pulled into some TikToks and stuff like that. And I said, we should try being influencers so that we can pay for college tuition and pay for our lifestyles. And then I said, wait, revert, back up. Just kidding. I don't want to be camera all the time. And, but it was my fear of failure. But I said, like, because I don't want my backside on the cameras. And then I'm like, wait, forget it. Let's do it and everything. But it was those type of things, like, that you do think, like, talking with my daughter, like, it's okay to be disloyal, to move on and everything. And sometimes you're going to make mistakes.
But is it disloyal?
It's not disloyal.
I don't think it is.
Yeah. I think there's blind faith or blind belief that you're supposed to do something. All right. And unfortunately, society teaches a lot of that you're supposed to follow what this coach says no matter what, follow what this family path says no matter what, follow this no matter what. And when you pivot or you change or you disagree, you're either ousted, you're removed, you're canceled, whatever term you want to use. And my older sister says it all the time about doctors. There's a reason doctors call it a practice, because that's all they're doing is practicing. They don't know so you don't always have to believe them. That's why we have the second and third. So it's not being disloyal, in my opinion. It's finding your own way.
Well, I also think there's an embarrassment if you fail.
Yeah, there is.
There can be, if that's how you react to it. But like, kind of like what we were saying before we even started recording, is failure is inevitable. Like, failure is gonna happen in your life somewhere. It's like, how do you react to that? And I think like the disloyalty piece, it's like when you're choosing yourself, like the only person that you owe loyalty to is yourself. And so you have to choose yourself at the end of the day.
I agree. I definitely don't disagree. I guess for me, I guess I have a fear, like with my current job, I absolutely love it. I love every about it. I can't wait to get there. I'm excited. I enjoy the people. I never thought I'd ever be in a position where I didn't care about the money. I just love being there. I love where we're going. I love what the organization's attempting for. And when I was going in, I was terrified because everybody has an opinion about working for a nonprofit and everything, which was, I appreciate, but thank you. Exit stage left.
Yes.
But the other thing is, but I do really love it. And there's a lot of work to be done there, which is probably why I love it even more. But so my fear right now is, because I love it, if I screw up so much, I'd be so disappointed in myself and so embarrassed in myself. Because one of the things is that I always have a thing of, if I'm terming someone, you've brought me there, if that makes sense. Like if I'm coming to terminate
100% makes sense.
So I would be so disappointed and so embarrassed in myself if I brought them to me to term me, if that makes sense. And that was where, I guess that's where my root of fear is, that I've done something to bring them to me, because that's my philosophy of terminations.
But we tend to only look at the negative pieces, right? So what did we say? We said, she left you in charge for 5 weeks.
I know.
They think that you're like that good enough.
Right.
Or that you're going to fail. Nobody.
Right.
You're in charge. So you get to look at things differently instead of always in the negative. If I don't do this, if I don't have the right font.
Right. Well, she was, and in some respects along those lines, like I almost fell out of my chair yesterday, because right before she went to surgery, I texted my boss, who was absolutely not my old boss. And I said, I'm thinking good thoughts. Good luck with your surgery, because that's why she's out. And she said, take a breath. Thank you so much. Take a breath. I don't expect perfection. Do the best you can. And I was just like, I literally, I like stumbled. I was like, oh my gosh, wait, I like wanted to frame it and everything. Like, cause I've never had a boss, except for when I worked in my first job in HR, when I worked for the Hertz Corporation. I've never had a boss say that back to me on my journey. And it was like an impactful moment. And even then it's like, she really does. And it's my job to go with that. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do the best I can and believe in myself and know that she believes in me too, and go from there and document what I need to do what I know I can do, and not be the Labrador puppy begging for appreciation, and just go.
So, EJ, as she's in this new job and she's really done a lot of work on herself, do you see a different Noelle in this job than in the last?
Yes, I do. I'm not pausing for that. I'm pausing to answer this the right way. When Noelle decided, for a long time, Noelle said she had to leave the old job. All right, she's been saying it all the way through. And interesting thing about us, and if anybody's listening and looking at this, going, why do these two talk this way? These are our Sunday night conversations with the family. Literally, we will sit, the whole family will get together, everybody will talk about what's going on, and even our children's friends will come over and go, look, you guys should just be like a podcast. We're just going to drop a microphone between you and let you guys talk, because this is what we talk about. And sometimes it gets very inappropriate, but leave it that way. Anyways, so we'll move on. When she was looking for this, she said she needed help, and you're not going to get help from your family. All right. And we've been married 26 years. I can tell her everything every day, and she's not going to listen to me no matter what. That's just the way it is. Accept that, people. That's life. Okay. Your kids aren't going to learn from you or whatever. She found you, Sue, as a coach, and with the idea that, that this is not a mental breakdown psychotherapy type of thing. This is literally a coach like you would have if you were doing a sport, to get you better, to identify your weaknesses and your strengths and find a way to build upon those. And I am not a fan of this, because 99% of them are a bunch of charlatans, and they don't do what they claim they do, and it's take money and go from there.
That's not this case.
Now, with saying that, there was one other thing. She had to make the decision herself that she was going to leave. And it goes back to what I've said before. When she makes that decision, it's going to happen. And then she's going to move forward. So to that, yes, there has been dramatically different Noelle. In fact, we were at, what was that, New Year's party? Or no, the Christmas lighting party. And Noelle went crazy. And all of her friends that we've been hanging out with goes, we've never seen this Noelle. This is the new Noelle. And I'm like, yeah, because the burden has been lifted off of her, because she's decided it's time to go. She has another opportunity. It's there in front of her, and so on. And you're going to get the, what did you call it? Labradoodle? And I explained that to her recently. I said, that's what happens in your first couple of weeks. You're supposed to be that lapping it up and understanding, because that's when you know what to do. And then after that, you cut loose and you break out and you do your thing. So yeah, completely different individual. Unfortunately for her, she has to acknowledge a couple of things. Well, number one, she can't do it all. All right. That you have a team of people that you have to rely on. You got to lean into your strengths. You said it, and I think Sam or Sue said it there with regards to it. That's the font difference. The way our family works, she plans, I execute. We want to have a party. Hey, this is what I want. Okay, this is how I'm going to lay it out. This is how we're going to get it done. This is what the image is going to load, and I will do that. She decides what it is, and she's got to apply that same approach. Not in that the people that are around you are looking to punish you or oust you. The people that are around you are looking to find their position with you. What can they do? Not necessarily to lift you up. That's not always the case, but they want to make sure their jobs are taken care of.
They want to make the department look good.
No, they don't. They want to make themselves look good.
Well, that too.
Let's be clear. They want to make themselves look good. So yes, a completely different person. A lot more
lighter.
Lighter is a good way to put it, but a lot less. You know how sometimes you just pick a fight because you want to fight and you can't fight with other people, so you pick it with your spouse because they're never going to go anywhere on you? That's the number of picked fights for that reason have dramatically decreased. And it's because before she didn't have that support system and that group. and you didn't have the confidence in yourself. You don't have to be perfect. To your point, to Katie's point, we're all going to fail. We're going to fall on our face a bunch of times. It's whether or not you jump up and go ta-da, or whether or not you lay there on the ground going, "Why did I fail?" So yes, I'm not. This is not a PSA hire Sue thing. This is a recognize the fact that sometimes you need help to get to where you need to be, to see your weaknesses and your flaws and your weaknesses, but also to see your strengths. Really to see your strengths and to build on those. So I'm sorry, that was a long way of saying, yes, you're absolutely right. She has changed a lot. And
Coach is going to make you see them, truly see them for what they are and how you built them, not the Dans of the world. How Noelle built them herself, because the
she froze.
He's frozen.
Ends of the world are just and you're taking it in. And I want you to remember that we, like Katie said, we make mistakes and those mistakes lead us forward. But guess what? Just like in baseball, you can swing and miss, but you get to swing again.
Yeah.
And you get to swing again and again and again until you get it right. But there are
just might get traded teams.
That's another chance to try it.
Yeah.
And there are no accidents. You are
and maybe that group, like you get traded, like it's like going to a new job. Like maybe that group is the right group to help support you and give you the opportunity to get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you said something, and I love that baseball analogy. I used to be a baseball coach. My kids play baseball and so on. A great hitter gets a hit 30% of the time. 30% is a failure in every other category in life.
Have you been yours lately on those? Because I live on Instagram and everything, but like they just did the thing with Feder. He said that, if you start looking at and who's the gentleman who failed at Top Gun, the Maverick? You don't like him, is it? Two actors have been out there. All the new postings lately on Facebook and Instagram is all about these major players. Like Federer said, I failed more than in all my tennis matches.
Mm-hmm.
I had to give up more points than I won, but I still won, even losing those points. You have to, it's how you recover from the lost points that make everything. Like I listen to those. I know I'm doing my other 2026 woman listening on the mornings, but I do listen to his speeches. Like it's recovering from those lost points that like Federer was talking about. And then also the actor who he was supposed to get the role. He tried out for the main role in Top Gun Maverick, but he ended up getting the bad guy role, I guess, is everything. And he gave a speech at a convocation. I'll send it to you, Sue.
You're talking about Glenn Powell?
Yes, and everything. And he said how there are no accidents. Every failure opens another door. There's no accidents, and that you live from those. And I was like, those two keep going on repeat. Like I added those to my daily routines. Like I learned when I go into my spirals of failure, like because with my new position, because of the fact that I'm so out of my comfort zone, having a position where one, they appreciate you, because I haven't had that in 6 years. And two, a boss that actually has confidence in me, again, totally rocked my bridge. And then I lost my normal routine foundations and so forth. I went back and I added those back in. Like, so in the mornings, I listened to his speeches, like, there are no accidents. There, out of everything comes these other opportunities. You don't know. Losing that role gave him the best role of his life. Like that opened every door. The fact that he became second and not the main character that he went for Glenn Powell gave him Twister and all these other opportunities. And now he's one of the most known actors, even though I couldn't remember his name. But
the fact that I did is really scary, to be honest.
And then Federer, who's one of the most revered tennis players. And everything and he was also at a convocation and everything like that, was like amazing. Like pick up from he lost 1 million points in a game, but it's how he recovered to still win all those US tennis matches. I probably get the right sport, but anyway.
You know, it's funny that she would say that, yet she's lived it. And that's what's amazing to me. Look, we went from a very steady, solid 20-year career. We're going to be, and she's married. I wasn't an FBI agent when we got married. I was in it. She married me right as I got in. All right. So we met, we did, and we have a very interesting relationship. We can talk about that, but we married a year to the day we met, literally a year to the day we met. Okay. We've been married 26 years now. I was going to be an FBI agent for life. You know, I was going to retire from there. 8 years in, massive pivot, lots of reasons, massive pivot. Now our life has to change completely. All right. The stock market changes, the home market changes, everything, massive pivots all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
That allowed us to do the next thing, which was pack up the family and move them overseas. That allowed the kids to become completely different. That allowed us to move to the Bay Area, which we hated, and we found out we hated it. That allowed us to move back to where we're at, which is near family. That allowed us to do the things that were in the world. That I am a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, and and you just have to be willing to do that. And I believe it through faith, but others believe it because it's karma. Whatever term you want to use, that's what it is. But one other thing that you all just mentioned, and I think is key, and Noelle kind of glossed over it. There's an embarrassment if you fail. And when, but the idea, and this stems to some stuff that I'm trying to help with kids that get embarrassed online. Embarrassment is you taking the impression of other individuals and making it real, applying it to you. And that's not right. Yes, society's going to judge you and so on, but the way you feel should not be based off of the way other people make you feel. It's very hard. Don't get me wrong. This isn't, it's great to be platitudes and say this. We all feel it. But what I'm saying is that if you feel embarrassment because you did not achieve something, you're looking the wrong way. Instead, you look at it and say, I didn't achieve it. Well, I didn't achieve it. Why didn't I achieve it? What didn't I get?
Yep.
Not because they told me. So sorry.
No, you're good.
I get on my high horse. I apologize.
No, you're good. But that makes me think of like, I don't know if any of you have read, I'm pretty sure my mom has, but if either of you have read The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, but like that makes me think of that because it's like, don't take anything personally and don't make assumptions are two of the four agreements, because what other people think and what other people do, that's not about you, it's about them.
Yeah. I think that's probably definitely true. Definitely true. I just think it's hard to do.
100%. 100%.
No, I mean, this is how society is.
Yeah.
It's a never-ending thing to work on yourself, by the way. It
Oh,
does. Just because you think you got it and you're sitting in the front seat of the car, as you and I would say, doesn't mean that you stay there all the time 100%. You're gonna have to swing again.
Yeah.
Have failures. You're gonna have moments where you think I can't do it, but you can. You just have to drive through it. But anyway.
If you stay there, if you continue to stand at the plate.
Yeah, that's right.
If you're afraid to do it, I mean, I know we're using baseball analogies and so on, but you keep trying and you keep trying, you're gonna succeed eventually. If you stop, sorry, walk away. No, you're never going to do it. It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are all platitudes that people say. It's not right.
I think it was.
This is great. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I think this is really relatable for a lot of people.
Yep, I do. I think so. So I think it'll air. It'll post on Wednesday morning, and then you can view it, share it, whatever you want to do.
Sounds great.
Thank you guys
so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
Right, bye-bye.